The sun hadn't even peeked over the horizon on a crisp October morning in 2024 when I, Ethan Caldwell, stumbled into my kitchen in Pine Hollow, a quiet lakeside community in Oregon. The coffee maker was barely gurgling when I spotted a white envelope slid under my front door, its edges crisp against the worn wooden floor. I tore it open, expecting a utility bill or a neighborly note. Instead, I found a single sentence that hit like a punch: sell your cabin within 48 hours or face legal consequences. My first reaction was a laugh, sharp, disbelieving, the kind you let out when something's so absurd it can't be real. But this wasn't a prank. This was my life, and someone had just declared war on it. I'm no stranger to legal battles. 20 years in insurance claims taught me how to spot a bluff, and this notice screamed harassment. The sender, Margaret Voss, our HOA president, who seemed to think she ruled Pine Hollow like a feudal lord. Her lawnmower roared outside at 6 a.m., a daily reminder of her need to control everything, even the peace of a Sunday morning. I grabbed a wooden box from my closet, where I kept my property's easement agreement, a document I never thought I'd need as a weapon. It stated clearly, the power lines running under my cabin were for residential use only. Any commercial activity, like the new EV charging stations at the lakefront, would violate state regulations and trigger hefty rate hikes. My hands shook as I read the fine print, realizing Margaret's scheme was about to backfire. I called my neighbor, Lucas Grant, a grizzled electrician with a knack for spotting trouble. He arrived in his faded union cap, squinting at the notice I handed him. 48 hours. That's not just bold, it's illegal, he said, his voice low with disbelief. I showed him the easement clause, pointing out the new chargers at the lakefront. Lucas, are those open to outsiders? His jaw tightened. Saw tourists swiping cards there last night. Went live a couple weeks ago. That was all I needed to hear. I grabbed my jacket, and we headed to the lakefront, the gravel crunching under our boots. The chargers stood gleaming under the morning light, their payment kiosks screaming public access. Lucas pointed to a timer box flipping the system to commercial mode every night. They're literally programming their own violation, he muttered. I snapped photos, kiosks, signs welcoming non-residents, the timer box humming away. As a licensed electrician, Lucas had inspection rights, so we documented everything: load readings, transaction logs, merchant details. A security guard tried to shoo us off, but Lucas flashed his credentials. State safety inspection. Code trumps your rules. The guard backed down, and we kept working, each photo a brick in the case I was building. Back home, my kitchen table became a war room, covered with photos and the easement agreement. The chargers had processed over 200 transactions in 2 weeks, clear proof of a commercial operation on a residential permit. I called the utility company's reclassification office. This is Ethan Caldwell. I'm reporting unauthorized commercial use of a residential corridor. The rep's voice perked up when I mentioned my evidence. Email it to us. If it checks out, we'll send inspectors tomorrow. By noon, Lucas and I were back at the lakefront with a proper meter, filming the setup like detectives in a sting. The kiosks were angled to lure passers-by, and Lucas's meter screamed business-level usage. A new guard approached, boots heavy, voice sharper than the last. Leave now. Private property. Lucas didn't flinch. State inspection. Step back. Tension crackled until the guard's radio hissed, ordering him to stand down. We kept filming, capturing a hidden menu in the chargers showing a flood of outsider payments. Lucas printed the logs, each page a dagger in Margaret's plan. That afternoon, I got a call from Owen Reed, the HOA treasurer. his voice shaky. Ethan, I heard about the notice. I just handle the books. Margaret's in charge of enforcement. I pressed him. Owen, you know commercial activity voids our residential insurance. Right. A long pause. He knew. I hung up, my mind racing. This wasn't just about my cabin anymore. It was about a power grab disguised as community management. By evening, word spread. Neighbors gathered on my deck, clutching coffee mugs and identical 48-hour notices. Clara Hayes, an elderly widow reliant on an oxygen concentrator, held hers with trembling hands. Margaret said my fence is 3 inches too tall. Sell or else. 4 others raised similar notices, each citing flimsy violations. Lucas arrived with old photos and permits from the community archives, stamped residential only. Clara dropped a bombshell. Margaret threatened to cut my power if I don't comply. Said the HOA controls all utilities. The deck went silent. Threatening an elderly woman's lifeline wasn't just cruel, it was criminal. I started recording. Clara, repeat that for the record. She did, her voice breaking. My neighbor Ryan, a retired lawyer, confirmed it violated Oregon tenant laws. They need 30 days notice for any service change. This is harassment. The next night, my security system woke me at 2 a.m. Motion near the utility corridor. I peered out and saw Margaret, cloaked in black, prying at a junction box with wire cutters. Sparks flew as she fumbled, clueless about the danger. I called Lucas. She's sabotaging the lines. Bring your camera. He was there in minutes, snapping photos as alarms blared, triggered by her reckless cuts. Emergency trucks roared in, technicians leaping out to secure the site. Margaret froze under their flashlights, caught with cutters in hand. Step away. Ma'am. This is felony tampering. A tech barked. She stammered. I'm HOA president. I'm checking connections. The tech scoffed. You're risking a blackout or fire. A sheriff's deputy arrested her for criminal mischief and endangerment. Neighbors watching in pajamas as she was cuffed. The next day, Clara called, sobbing. Another notice. This one threatening to disconnect her medical equipment if she supported me. I reported it to Detective Harper, who called it criminal endangerment. Owen showed up at Clara's, guilt-ridden. I signed checks for Margaret's intimidation tactics. Private investigators. Guards. I thought it was legal defense. He handed over his ledger, exposing the misuse of HOA funds. At the lakefront, Margaret, out on bail, tried to dismantle the chargers, but contractors refused, unwilling to touch evidence. Harper texted, new charges for witness intimidation and tampering. Friday brought a convoy of officials, utility inspectors, insurance agents, federal disability rights officers. The chargers were dissected, logs confirming commercial use. The utility reclassified the corridor, slapping the HOA with a $23,000 retroactive bill. Insurance canceled the community's policy for fraud, leaving board members personally liable. Margaret was arrested again, facing felonies, harassment, fraud, elder endangerment, sabotage. Federal agents piled on charges for targeting Clara's medical equipment. The community voted to oust Margaret, her lawyer pale as Clara recounted her ordeal. Applause erupted, not just for victory, but for solidarity. By dusk, Pine Hollow felt different. The chargers stood dark, tagged as evidence. I pinned the reclassification notice beside Margaret's ultimatum on the bulletin board, a testament to her downfall. Clara brought cookies, her smile brighter than the lake's sunset. My phone rang. The utility company confirmed my cabin stayed on residential rates, while the HOA's bills tripled. Justice wasn't just served. It was compounded with interest. What would you do if your home was threatened like this? Should HOA boards face stricter oversight to prevent power abuses? Can a community ever recover trust after such betrayal? Drop your thoughts below. Hit that like button. And subscribe for more stories where the little guy fights back.